How are we doing today? This is Lena with Especially Made for Me. Thank you so much for joining me. We have made some changes and hopefully you can see the difference. My husband got me a new camera. So now I have two cameras that are of great quality that I can use. So hopefully you can see the difference on the colors and the sharpness of the colors and different things. So let us know if you like the new look. We do of course have everything changed over with the new logo as well. So hope you're liking it. Let me know. Give me thumbs up. Give me some comments. Let me know if you can hear me okay. Also just to make sure that you can see me well as well. So we're gonna get started. We're doing some floral work today, and we're gonna be doing a wreath with some grapevine. So I'm gonna be changing the view just so that you can see everything around me. I have all these florals and ribbons and different things around here that I want to make sure you can see. So I'm going to be changing the view to where I'll be towards the corner, so you can still see me, but mainly the focus will be on the project. So we'll have a top view coming on the project, and you'll see me on one of the corners as well. So let me know if anything, and we're going to get started. So here we go. I'm going to just move the mouse out of the way. Hello again. This is our grapevine that we're going to use. It's an oval grapevine. And this one, I can't remember, it's about 22 inches, in case you want to get something the same. Just a word to the wise, grapevines can be a little bit messy. So you're bound to have little pieces of the grapevine throughout as you're working on the project. Clarity is so much better. Awesome. That's what we wanted. Thank you. Alrighty. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Now for my grapevine, the first thing I like to do is kind of just lay it flat. Sometimes it has a little bit of a give where you could actually shape it. But if it doesn't get flat enough for you, just go ahead and turn it. You want to make sure that it's nice and flat for when it goes up on a wall or a door. So I'm thinking I'm going to be using this side. It looks like it's not topsy-turvy on me. And then we can decide which way we want it to be the top. So I am thinking, since this one is kind of going up a little bit, this is going to be our top. So it's going to be like so. Our top, our bottom. And we're already going to have this as our front. So the flatter end should be towards the bottom, because that'll be against the wall or the door, depending on where the wreath is going to be placed. So I have some things all the way around me that I want to show you. Of course, we may not use it all, but I like having some extra out just because you never know if you might need more or less. So I'd rather have a little bit of extra. So these are some things I got from my vendor. And we're going to be using them just throughout the wreath, just to add a pop of color, add some dimension, and just to make sure we have a nice background. So I'm going to be spreading these around. I want to make sure I show you everything before we get started. I have these wonderful flowers in all of our, I'm going to stand them up this way so you can actually see them on the top view camera. Fall colors. Love having this top view. Woohoo! And I have a couple of those, and I want to make sure I show you everything. So I have these here, and these are actually got from the dollar store. They have them every once in a while during the different fall seasons. So we're gonna see if we might use some of these. We may not. And we may use some, but not all. Who knows? We're gonna go with the flow. And then we have, of course, some greenery. I'm gonna put it up this way as well so you can see the different angle of it. And it's got some of the same colors from our flowers. And some of those, of course, the greenery and the little bit of the burgundy. So just to mix it out, and we're going to be using that as our base. Okay. So the flowers are usually what we work towards the end. So we're going to be working on our base first, and then we'll have some fillers once we put our flowers in, and we'll go from there. Now, a couple of different things you can do to add your florals in. I have this glue gun. It's a Ryobi. I'm going to put it this way, Ryobi glue gun. I do have the affiliate link for that under the video. If you like to get it, it's actually cordless. It's got a battery pack that you charge, and that way you don't have the cord getting in your way. So I love this gun, and I usually use it for like smaller projects. I learned a new way with Lori Jacobs. She shows us some tips and tricks of the trade, and I have a skillet behind me that you may see if you look at the corner of where you can actually see me. I have a skillet behind me with the glue because that makes it a little bit easier and faster when you have a bigger project. But you could do either or. And of course, if you had one of the ones with the cord, you could do that as well in the intro. Nothing wrong with that. That's how I started as well. I just as I started doing more projects, it just kind of kept getting in my way. So okay, we're gonna start with our base first. So I'm gonna be cutting some of these leaves, so it'll be easier for us to attach. Now you could do the individual depending on how you have your florals or where you get them from. You may have individual stems, you may have stems that are combined, and you could decide depending on what you're working on how you want to use them. If you want to put 2 or 3 at a time, for example, or if you want to do individual ones, or cut them in different ways, and that way you'll have the option based on what you're working on. So that is basically what I'm doing here. Because even if you cut them in bundles, you'll still be able to cut them out individually from there. So all I'm doing is going all the way to the bottom. Hope you can see that on that top view camera. And I'm just snapping from there, just so that way I'll have more of the stem to be able to work into the grapevine. Okay, just cutting again. And I'm going to cut it all because I know we're pretty much going to be using all of this. And we might incorporate some of the other greenery just to do a little bit more coverage. We will hopefully have some time for a bow today because I want to make sure I do a bow for this. And I'll show you here in a second what we're going to be doing. Alrighty, so I'm going to start splitting these up. And you can cut things as you go as well. Based on your comfort level. Remember, as you're here, if you haven't already done so, to please give me thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And even ring that bell, as some might say. We call that showing us some love. Okay, I'm going to separate this one a little bit more because they're right on top of each other. I don't know if you can see that. They're pretty much on top of each other. And although that's provide some coverage, you want to be able to get as much coverage as possible. So you don't necessarily want them to be completely on top of each other. Maybe overlap will be okay. So it'll cover more of your base. So if not, it's better to separate them a bit. I think I'm going to leave this one as is. Alrighty, so let's see what we have and what we can cover. And then if we need to cut up more, we cut up more. That way we're not over cutting. So I'm going to start with my longest ones. Okay, so one thing to think of and try to decide, what we're going to do is actually just cover one side of our grapevine. The other side we're going to be putting a bow on. So usually we would start with our base so that way we know where we want it to stop in relation to if we want to do a curve or if we want to go straight shot out and then spreading out one way. So depending on the form we want to give it is where we actually work our base. And then of course we're going to leave the one side empty because that's where our bow is going to go. And then we'll add some florals to the bow to incorporate it into the florals. So the main decision will be, do you have a specific side that you will want the florals on versus the bow, or vice versa? And if not, you just go with it and then you do the bow on whichever side you didn't put florals on. So that's all there is to that. So I am actually going to move these a little bit out of the way. I don't want any glue to get on them since I'm going from behind me. Okay, and hopefully you can still see me on the corner. I'm just putting some glue on here. And if that does get a little bit out to where you can't really see, let me know and I could always use the glue gun. And then all we do is just insert our leaves. This is basically for coverage. Okay. And you can scatter them around. They don't have to be in a certain format or a certain way. Just kind of insert them in. The main idea is to cover some of the grapevine to provide a base, and then we'll go from there. And if you don't like where it's at or the way it looks, you can move it. So this one is definitely one that will be going up on the Etsy shop. It has not been claimed, so it's not like a pre-order or custom order. So it should be up on Etsy in a couple of days or so, hopefully by the weekend. We're doing some changes on the Etsy shop. We've made some progress in working something out with regards to shipping, because we've been having some issues, or not necessarily issues with the shipping, but the post office charges a little bit more for our shipping, and we're switching, or rather for some items we're going to be using FedEx instead. And we found out, and we were really surprised about this, we can actually ship a wreath or a swag for less than twice than the post office using FedEx. So definitely a big savings that we want to make sure we pass on to you. Just got some glue on me. Try not to do that yourself, because ow. Alrighty, just grabbing some leaves and spreading the love. That's all I'm doing. Just to shape the way we want the flowers to be, so that way when we start putting flowers on, we know exactly where they'll be. Again, these are just to form your base and provide some coverage and set the shape that you want your wreath to take. And I like making sure some of them actually go out. They don't have to be straight, because if you think about it, you know, with nature, they're not all like all in a particular shape. The leaves go all over the place, right? So we want to make sure we make it look as natural as possible. Okay, so I'll go a little bit lower for this one. There we go. And if you're not too sure, just like I did now, before putting the glue on, you can actually place it, and then you know where to actually put it once you have the glue on. Okay? All right, let's see. What would we need? A little bit more coverage. I'm gonna have some flowers there and some pumpkins. I forgot to show the pumpkins. Grab some pumpkins to put on here as well. So you're basically making like a bed, so to speak, for the flowers. So that then you can incorporate the flowers and everything just falls into place. I guess that might be the best way for me to describe it. I'm not sure that's the best way to describe it, but you're making your base and setting where everything is positioned. That way you'll know where to place flowers or where not to place flowers. That way you know not to extend past that point. Let's see. Where do I want this one at? I might do an extra bowl and put it down here, so I'm not too sure. Let's see. Why not? We got plenty of coverage. Alrighty, so that is our base. I'm gonna just clear some of this stuff off. Mentioned it was a little bit messy. Have my little trash can right here. Alrighty, so from here you could actually start adding some flowers, and then these will be more like fillers to then extend it a little bit more and give it some more of a flow. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to start cutting our flowers. I'll move this little bit out of the way. Okay, can we see the flowers? I want to make sure you can see the flowers as I cut. Move that out of the way. Okay, so when cutting flowers, you get more coverage and it looks better if you move the leaves up. Okay, and then you can cut. If you're not sure how long you want them just yet, you can cut them almost all the way down, or you can go halfway, and then if you need to cut it a little bit more, you can cut a little bit more. So it's entirely up to you. So if you're not too sure, cut them longer, and then once you position them and see where you want them, if you can cut a little bit more, you cut more. So for now, we're going to go ahead and just cut, and then we'll go from there. I love these. The cattails. These add some definition and flow as well, so I like using those. Alrighty. Excuse me. Position my leaves here before I cut. Oh, so pretty. Can you see that? I love this top view. I can show things a lot better. That's gonna be gorgeous. Okay. And I'm just kind of matching where the flowers are at, just so I know how many of each I have. Just to see how much there is. Love, love, love. More coverage. So if you're just joining us, we are doing a floral today, a floral arrangement using grapevine wreath form, just in time for fall. So we are using a grapevine and some flowers, mixed colors, just perfect for the fall time. I'm going to go ahead and cut all of this just so that we'll already have it set and ready to go. And if we don't use it all, we'll have it for another project. But I do believe we might use it all, just because. I think today I'm feeling the heat more because of that skillet. Look how pretty. Aren't these pretty? I love flowers. Now you could get these bouquets of flowers like at Walmart, Hobby Lobby. Even Michael's has some. I do suggest, of course, checking for when they have the sales and the coupons. Take advantage of those. Even the grab bags. I'm just anxious to get a hold of some of those so I can show you how those are. Okay, pushing up on my leaves. Alrighty, we are done with those. Now these wire cutters, I have the affiliate link for those as well if you don't have any. These have been able to cut through some crazy thick florals, and it's just been amazing. So I definitely would suggest getting some if you're able. If you're looking for some and don't already have some, please do look into those. Okay, so these smaller ones is what we would call fillers, just like these over here. So what we normally do is place our bigger flowers on our arrangement first, and once we have those in after our base, then we see where there's some holes, and then we put these in. That's what we call them, fillers. So fillers are always good to have to match your theme. Alrighty, so here we go. Now we could decide where we want each type of flower. And if we want to bend it a little bit, we can do that. See how that works? And we can still either use the full length of that stick, or we can cut it. But we have those options now, see? So I like bending mine a little bit, and then cutting off any excess just to make it a little bit easier. And then we're going to get our glue on there and position it just where we decided just now where to put it. Okay, and we could do that all the way. Now I purposely put mine at 250 degrees. I don't want it any hotter than that. That's why you can kind of see that little spider web, but that way it is just perfect for getting the glue on there, and it's not too hot to where if you get it on yourself, you'll feel it a little bit, but it's not like, oh my gosh, I just burnt myself. Whereas if you do set it at a high degree, you'll definitely feel it. Okay, so I'm just going to alternate some of the colors here, and I'm thinking I want this one next. Okay, how does that look? I like it. And I'm actually going to do my 3 and 3 method so I can show you basically what that looks like. And what you do is, once you already know where you want one flower, then you place 2 more in different angles. So for example, we already have that one there, so maybe we can go down here and we can give it a little bit of a shaping so we can place our flower where we want it and decide on which side or which angle we want it on. Okay, and it doesn't have to be exactly on a straight angle, but that way you'll have, that gives you more places to look. It's like, oh, there's that flower, and then we can put one here in the middle, and it gives us our 3. And then we could do the same positioning with the others. It gives us a little bit of a guide. And I'm gonna actually pull the leaves up since I'm going over to the skillet. Don't want the leaves to get any glue on them. Alrighty. Gonna do the same thing with our other flowers as well. Let me go ahead and get our 3rd one in. And again, there's not really a, I don't think there's really like a wrong way of doing this, just kind of giving you an option. And there's the third one. I think that spot will be perfect. I'll move my leaves. There we go. Love, love, love. Don't forget, while you're here, if you haven't already done so, please do give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. Cut this one a little bit more. And all we're doing is just pushing them in between the grapevine. The glue takes care of the rest. Now with this one, just to kind of change the view, I'm going to go in with it, which means I'm going to go on the inside. So I'm going to cut it much smaller or shorter, just because we have a little bit less of a length going in that way. And if you happen to cut it too long and just goes all the way through, you could just cut that stem. Alrighty, moving on to the orange. See, we could decide to go all in line or crisscross. I think I might actually put it right there in the middle and then use our fillers for everything else. We'll see. Because we still have pumpkins, you know. I'm still getting glue on myself. But I'm not screaming. I definitely do recommend a skillet. With the glue gun, it's just usually one temperature. It's rare that you can find one that has different temperatures you can switch to and from. Again, just moving the petals up so that way I won't get glue on the petals. That's all I'm doing. Love, love, love. What do you think? Liking it so far? And then we have our fillers that we can put in, and we still have these with the green and the burgundy that I want to put in as well, just to give it a little bit more dimension. So I'm going to cut these out, put these to the side, put these in the handy dandy trash. Okay. Alrighty, so these, if you can see here on the view for the camera, it's got some of that burgundy and that little bit of that, excuse me, that orange. It's got some green, but because of their length and how they flow and move, that'll give it that little bit of a flow on the wreath itself. So I'm going to actually leave them as a set. So I'm cutting towards the bottom. Alrighty. On to the next stage. So see, if we put these here, just gives a little bit more coming out this way. And we can put another one here, and we could do the same thing on this side and just kind of vary as we go. So I'm going to turn this a little bit so I won't have to go as far with the glue. And that helps us to fill in on the side of the vine to kind of provide some coverage there as well. Got spider webs. Again, I'm just going around and adding some to the sides on the inside and the outside just to provide further coverage. And to give it more of a flow. Just wavy flow. Now on this side, I'm going to go backwards. So that way it'll bring it on down. How are we liking it so far? Okay. I'm undecided on those, so we'll cut some of these. Again, always a good idea to push the leaves up before you cut them. And I am thinking, let's see, trying to add a little bit more. See, I like that. Let me cut it a little bit more. Uh-oh, got some glue on the leaves. There we go. Side webs. I think I do like them there, and I might like them over here. Let's see. Just set that more, a little bit more right there. Let's see, maybe behind this one instead, since it's orange. I'm thinking this one will be on this side as well, but more on the outer. Okay, here we go. Always a good thought to turn your wreath periodically to make sure you have everything covered. That way you'll be able to see where else you may want to provide some further coverage. Just the idea is to have wherever anybody looks, you'll see flowers and leaves. Okay, so I'm going to start on the outside of it, the opposite angles where we don't have the yellow. I'm going to put yellow on the outer to provide that more coverage, and that way also if someone looks at it from the side, they'll also see some of that yellow. And I'll show you what I mean. I'll lift it so you can see it from that top camera. See, there is some coverage needed there and also on the other end. So we want to make sure we provide some coverage and put flowers and greenery throughout. Feels like it takes a little bit more concentration, doesn't it? It does for me anyway. So that looks much better. I like things to look full. Let's see, looks like you might need a little bit more glue. So instead of taking it out, let's see, I don't know if I want to use the glue gun. Well, it's not really coming out, it just feels loose. Okay, I'm going to heat up the glue gun there. Make sure that it doesn't hit the table, just my cutting board. And I'll add a little bit more glue to that. Gonna add my other yellow. And if you're just joining us, we're making a floral wreath today using a grapevine. Just in time for fall. Let's see, where's the other? Add one more of these, possibly two. Add it back here just to provide a little bit more coverage and make sure that we see those throughout, not just in one place. Okay. Now we have this one on the top here, so I'm going to go down here and add one. And again, really the idea, once you have your base set up, it's just a matter of covering, making sure that you have your main flowers on there as well, up first. Can't talk. And once you have those positioned, like I mentioned with that 3 key points, it makes it easier to place everything else because you just then start filling in. Okay, so just what I did with the yellow, I'm going to do with the burgundy and the orange. In this case, I'm going to put that burgundy, since you can see it more on the top there, I'm going to go ahead and put them on the outer, and then I'm going to do the orange on the inner, if there's any spaces there to be covered. Put one of those oranges out here. Okay, and I'm going to turn it. I mentioned earlier about making sure we look at it from every angle. That way we know where we need to fill. Don't forget, while you're here, please give thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. You could also visit us on Facebook and like us there. Follow us on Pinterest. But please, please also visit our Etsy shop. We hope to have things, you know, it's been going through a facelift, as I've been calling it, just like our website. And this one that we're making live here today with you should be up on the Etsy shop by the weekend. If you can see that from the top, it's covered throughout. I think I might do a little bit more on the top end, but if I turn it, you can't see much of the grapevine other than that top end. Turn it over this way. I'm gonna fix that one flower before I forget. Just gonna add a little bit more of the glue just to make sure it stays put. Turn that off. Okay. So here we go, doing our little test. If it's at an angle from the sides, full coverage. Looking at the inside, on the inner, same thing. Making sure it's covered. So again, the main part I'm thinking we still might need a little something would be on this top part here. See if I can show that on the camera, just a little bit up here. Okay, just getting rid of some of the glue spider webs, as I call them, little strings. I think I might put another orange here and then do this one up here. Just because I feel like it needs a little bit more of that coverage here. Let's see how it looks. Alrighty. Did I just lose that one piece? There it goes. Whew, messy, messy. But yet so beautiful. I think this will be a good spot to put this in. Okay, I think we got it. This way so you can see it from the top. There we go. And then we can have our bow here, or if we decide to leave it as is, we can. But we're gonna go ahead and make a bow. So I'm gonna try to move this out of our way and grab some of our ribbons. Was gonna be putting some pumpkins in here, but I'm not too sure I need the pumpkins. What do you think? It might take away from the flowers, or maybe not, I don't know. Let's see. Turn it on over this way. And then we might skip the bow. Gotta let me know what you'd like to see. Let's see. Could add pumpkin there. This is more of the orange. So we could, wish I had some more of that green. I don't know that I like the idea of more orange. Looks like we have a hole right there, so maybe we could put the pumpkin in there. Except it'll just be the one, so right in the middle. And we can fluff up the flowers and the leaves, so it's just sitting like so. What do we think? So I'm going to use one of these skewers. It's good to have these handy in case you want to add something to a floral. That might still be too big. Let's see. Okay, let's see. So we're going to use some glue and poke it right through the middle. So it is styrofoam. Try not to go too high up so you won't poke all the way through. And I'm gonna put it here on the, I just put the skewer after I cut it, and I put some glue in it, and I poked a hole right in the middle with it and push it through. Just make sure you don't go too far up to where you might come all the way through on the top. And then you can use some glue here to put it onto your floral arrangement. Okay, so we're gonna do that now. I'm going to move our floral petals out of the way here so we'll be able to work it right into the wreath. Like so. And then you work your leaves around. So that way it'll take part of the actual floral. You don't want it to be standing up too far up or what have you. Okay, so there we go. So we can look again and make sure that there's no other holes that we may need to fill in. And if it looks good, then we know we can go ahead and work on a bow, or if you have a sign you want to use, we could do a sign. In this case, we're going to go for a bow. Okay, so I'm going to try and put this a little bit to the side. I'm going to put my gun, I guess I shouldn't say it that way, with my glue gun out of the way. Make sure I clean up the little glue. And move some other things around, but I want to make sure this is still in view for you to see. Alrighty, so I might turn this over this way so you can still see the florals without me having the full grapevine on focus, just so that we can have more room for the bow. Okay, so I'm going to bring out my Easy Bow Maker. And then we could decide which ribbons we want to use. So the main ribbon I thought about using was this one because of the pumpkins, and it's got the orange and the green and the burgundy, and I'll go ahead and lift that up a little so you can see it more in focus. Okay, then we also have a green, but I really like this one. Let's see, not sure if it'll focus, but it's got gratitude, family, give thanks, fall, harvest, autumn. Not sure if it's focusing very well, but it's got the same colors, but it gives us a little bit of that cream off-white color so that we can add that little bit of a pop, and you can kind of see that it would work with it just by putting the ribbon there. Okay, I also have this one with the cream, but it still has that burgundy. But I'm thinking for the cream color to add that in, I'm liking this one better. So we'll see. We'll just alternate. We can add them all. So we're gonna need our scissors. And I'm thinking, just for a base, I'm gonna do the green first. Nah. We'll see. We'll just play with it and have fun. There's no rules. We'll try to make this go real quick, and then we'll see about adding it on. Okay, so I'm gonna do about a 6-inch tail. Let's see, maybe 8, just because of the length that we have there. And before I do that, I'm gonna cut my dovetail. Let me move a little bit more towards the middle. To cut the dovetail, just fold your ribbon, and you just cut diagonally towards the corner, and you'll get that dovetail. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna flip on over. I'm gonna do a 6-inch loop. I'm going to do the same thing. We're going to go ahead and twist it in the middle. And this is so that we have the pretty side showing up. If you don't twist it in the middle, you're going to have that other side instead of the pretty side, as we say. Now you could use an easy bow maker or the Bowdabra. I do have the affiliate links on the bottom of the video for those as well. There's really no specific tool you have to use. You could also do this with your hands. I have some other videos showing how to make the bows by hand. So you definitely can do that. This just makes it a little bit easier because it's like having an extra set of hands holding the bow while you're working the ribbon. That's all it is. Now this ribbon is like a canvas, but it still has some glitter, which makes it pop a bit. I'm only making the 2 loops, so I'm going to go ahead and not twist this this one in the middle, because we're going to go ahead and get our tail from this one. I lost track of which way I was twisting it, and it's all twisted up, but that's all good. So we're going to go ahead and cut and then make our dovetail while we're right here. Okay, cut that one a little bit longer. Okay, from here you could position your loops. You feel like to kind of play with it while you're here. It's a good idea to do that because it gives you an idea of where to place your other loops that you're going to be having on the top of the bow. Okay, now this one is wired, but it is sheer. I just thought that would bring in some of that green. So we can measure our loop, and this one won't necessarily matter if we twist it or not, but it does help with shaping as well. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Trying to do this upside down so you can see it a little bit better. So if you hope you can see it well enough, especially with having this top view. And I guess with the top view I don't necessarily have to do it upside down. Just thought of that. Silly me. Now I'm only going to do the 1 loop with this one. And lastly, now you could use as many ribbons as you like. The more ribbons, of course, you use, the bigger your bow. Now this one has letters, so I am actually going to do this one by hand. and then put it on top. Reason for that is because I want to make sure that all of my letters are facing the same direction. And all I do is just basically put it in between my thumb and my index finger. And we can measure if we want from there, or using the same easy bow maker. And all we're going to do is just tuck it on in. Okay, and we're going to come back up with it. Again, tucking it back in. And to measure, since we measured the first one, we're just going to kind of lift to make sure that it matches. With this one, we're going to go over the top and then tuck it under. We'll make sure it matches. And then for this one, we're going to go under and over. So we're coming back over this way. There we go. I'm going to measure again against the other loop and tuck it under. And then we can make sure that both of our tails will match. So I'm going to go ahead and place it on here, just for easier positioning and cutting of the other tail. Got twisted on me. Okay, here we go. And I'm actually cutting up here. And I only did the one tail. Okay, just positioning the loops where I want them. So I want to make sure we see that green. Okay. Grab a zip tie. I'm actually going to need two. Turn this thing off while I'm thinking about it. So, okay. So what we're going to do is run this zip tie under the bow, making sure that we grab all of our loops and the tails. And we're going to not go all the way. then from here we can position our loops again, kind of do some fluffing, but I'm going to move this to the back of it and squeeze just a little bit more, but not all the way. That way we can still play with shaping of the bow. And we'll have to shape it maybe 2 more times, so don't worry. I'm going to flip it around. If you see any kinks, you can kind of wiggle it and those kinks should go away. Get all of our tails facing in the same direction. And I'm going to put this other zip tie right under and just run it through, because this is the one we're going to use for tying it onto our grapevine. Okay. So I'm just going to grab the grapevine now and attach it to the grapevine. Now here you could decide if you want it more in the middle or more on the top. If you want it more on the top, then we could do longer tails. I'm going to move it a little bit further down because we do have big enough loops to kind of cover on the top. So now that I have everything where I want it, I'm going to go ahead and tighten this and cut the top zip tie. And then we're going to use this one to attach it, and we'll play with our loops again. Okay, so thinking I'm just running it through. And then you can cut the excess once you're done. And again, these are wired, so you can place them where you would like them to be. And the shaping of the ribbon and the tails, you would just run your fingers through on the bottom, underneath them. And I'm thinking I would have liked more of that orange to pop, so I would have probably gone back and do another orange with that pumpkin color. But here it is. I'll probably change the bow and just add more of that orange, I think. But I'll do that off video because I've already kept you a little over an hour. But I do like it without the bow, and also would like it with more of that orange on the bow. We could certainly do, because we have more of that ribbon. But I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did enjoy it, please do give me a thumbs up, and join me again next week here on YouTube. Well, we'll do more lives, of course, and more tutorials, and learn a little bit more about different things. And I'm gonna go ahead and change the view here a little bit, just so that we can, hello, and I'm gonna hold the grapevine, the floral, so that way you can see it a little bit better from the top. And I love the coverage on it, because you could see flowers through all the different angles. Okay. Alrighty. Thanks again for joining me. Do stay safe, keep smiling, stay liquid, and we'll see you again next week. Have a wonderful day.